Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Let's Play Abduction. This is a special episode that's only me because of Farnas's extreme aversion to reading. And I know that it's not entertaining. Um, just ignore this. Uh, to people when he just sits there and stares at things and reads them silently to himself. And I know we did read a lot of this stuff, but somehow, possibly because we changed the resolution on the computer, the black thing that was covering half of these documents has vanished. So I feel like I should go through them again so that you and I actually know the whole thing. Ignore him. CW is totally evil. The Mofang Disabler VLAN technology. Uh, something. Notes from Aprar. Designed to disable anything based on Mofang technology. Disables with blue beams. Cloud is, when blue is about 1.5 feet or any Mofang device element. Elements physically collapse. Reassembly is possible, but non-trivial. Aprar assures me that it's not harmful, still not pointing it at my head. Ruko has not been told that the Velans provided it. So who are Aprar and Ruko? That, I think, is actually the most important thing for this, is these two people. That the Velans provided it. Is that an item there? Okay, none of those are items. That's also not an item. Oh, this is so fucking slow. This is the thing about these teleporting devices that we see. Ambassador Seed Swap Machine functionality. Radius of swap sphere is defined at first swap immutable. Okay. Needs recharge naturally from seeds recharge from ubiquitous ambient membrane power radiation tied to tree health. So these things are actually hooked to the trees. That's interesting. Forcing seed open triggers prep behavior. Radius demarcation. Small battery added to amplify ambient membrane power charges continuously. Parabolic focusing of power used to trigger seed swap behavior. Looking location or swap machines assures predictability, no unanticipated damage. Radius demarcation also occurs at same location in destination sphere. But how do you know it will not cause damage if you don't know what's in the destination sphere yet? Without a pair seed defining the destination swap location, the destination coordination, and it's matched the source, so you just swap at the same spot. Swapping on demand. Okay, great. So we know those are hooked to the trees, which is interesting. God damn, this is going to be a pain in the ass. I cannot read this shit. Mofang solid volume projector. Oh, these are just the projectors. But whatever, we just blew up a few in the last video, so dimensional projector produces apparently solid apparitions with light, volume, and some sort of simulated mass. Ruko, like Laxman, says all projectors will have similar power levels and communication protocols. There appears to be three primary elements: projector element, beam emission provides the primary light energy source, control arm, some kind of control of the beam. in 3 dimensions, color variable and mass invariable. Communication areas. Internal comm signal supplied across gap to projection area. And then there's a bunch of numbers here. I don't know. Maybe these numbers are important. Maybe we have to put them in base 4. Who the fuck knows? We'll use 7-volt communication level as a carrier voltage. Varying the voltage amount that baseline voltage produces solid-like volume boxes in various colors formed from bottom to top, left to right. The Mofang have turned the retrace timing to 50 hours for us. Something mighty kind of them. Mighty kind of them. Is CW writing this? Is he being sarcastic? Wait, there's a bunch of... Okay. For a full 3D revolution, or approximately blah 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 numbers, the converter would be required to adjust the voltage about every 3 nanoseconds. I don't have an abundance of circuitry to build converter running at this number, or still projections. Rocks. Oh yeah, the rocks that we blow up. The refresh doesn't matter. This display is persistent unless the voltage varies from 7 volts. I can produce the projection from a still image and set the voltage to 7 to maintain it. Less than 0.8 volts results in clear, open, massless display space. Okay, so here's the thing. Image bounds, question mark. Radio transmitter, speaker value. Okay, so this is interesting because this says what the pieces are. So when we blow them up, this might tell us what is left over after we blow it up. Note, sound will be handled separately. Some projection noise, slight shimmer from radio interference, moving image, corruption noise towards bottom or projection, image above projections arm bounds are possible. Checking for potential hidden lethality. Mere suggestion. Somebody else had to suggest that. Checks out. Can't find anything destructive. He sounds disappointed about that. Consistent, spurious, very high frequency background carrier. No idea what that could be. Odd side effect. Projection intersecting any part of cell wall suppresses all transport. Oh! Not sure why I tried this. Farley claims it's related to some desire of mine to shoot everything at everything else. Yeah. Okay, so it says that it suppresses transport, so maybe one of them is blocking something somewhere. That's useful to know, especially because we can blow them up. Go away. Anyway, I'm going to be pausing this now, so you don't need to see me walk to Farley's house. Alright, here we are back at Farley's house, and we have a shit ton of stuff to read, which is totally not going to be enjoyable, but ignore the idiot in the corner. And oh my fucking god, I have no idea how I can read this. I shall document the curious events that have transpired, which myself, my family, friends, and co-workers. Hartwell was a peaceful Energycom founded by my grandfather and nestled within something mining town, I guess. The red rock of the desert in the Arizona territory. I can't read cursive, guys. It's 163 inhabitants heard a mighty explosion on the night of June 27th, 1903. I sent several workers through the town to verify that the explosion had not caused any injuries or damage to mining equipment. They returned and reported that it must have been a loud clap of thunder caused by dry lightning, for they found no damage. It was not until the light of the next morning that we were amazed to realize something profound had indeed occurred. At some point during the night, our entire mining facility and a large circle of the land around it seemed to have been scooped up and carried off to a completely different place, all without anyone knowing about it. Okay. That's great. Now tell us what's on this one. The entire landscape outside of our circle of desert could only be described as alien. Large floating rocks could be seen in the distance. No one had ever seen anything like it anywhere on Earth. We finally explored our new surroundings, hoping to find a way home. No way home was ever found. In fact, we soon discovered that we take for granted now. Not only could we not go back home, we also could not access the landscape outside the desert. Curiously, we discovered the flow of water was provided from a high point of rock, and we discovered a small tree growing in the very center of the circle. Our central tree that is so important to our lives here was just a mere sapling back then. Okay, let's look at this one. This is the one on the different races, I think. Come on. How do I go back? I guess it starts out with this. The Rye. After a certain level of... Nope. This is not it. I knew there was more. Species descriptions. Mofag. Through ambassador seeds, which we will read about in that blue notebook, the Mofag were the first non-human species humans were introduced to. An Liang was the first to call the aliens a Mofag, impressed with their advanced ability to imitate our sounds, movements, and mannerisms. Although they have a name for themselves, their language is mostly unpronounceable by humans. As a result, and because of their mimicry abilities, communication with the Mofag is primarily accomplished by their learning human language rather than humans learning to speak Mofag. They have been able to learn almost every human language represented in Hunrath, which apparently is only English, enough to provide functional rudimentary communication. Mofag basic external morphology is remarkably humanoid, bilateral, symmetrical, tetrapods, bipedal, headed with anterior facial features, mouth, eyes, nostrils. Other external features include minimal body hair and raised dorsal protrusions. Constitution is somewhat frail due apparently to their thin and lightweight internal structure. Internal investigation has not been possible. They have ample cranial space to account for substantial brain, and their intelligence is impressive as evidenced by their advanced technology. They look mostly like stereotypical aliens, as you can see. The Arai. After a certain level of maturity and health of the tree, a passage opened at its base. Oh, these are the Moongate things. This passage allowed contact with two additional species. The first contact was with the Arai, to the first contact revealed the Uri to be large, beetle-like insects. We were unable to communicate directly with them in any way, but they appeared to have some rudimentary level of intelligence. It was Lorig Toth who first made the journey through the heart to Kaptar. It's the place where we are, and named both the New World and the inhabitants. The Arai have 3 distinct variants that have come to be referred to as barnacle, beetle, and polyarch. Although their morphology is dramatically different from human, their internal system, like all of our neighbors, are supported by similar atmospheric composition and basic nutrients. In their barnacle stage, the Arai are completely immobile. The Arai stay in this egg-like development state seemingly indefinitely in order to hatch. They must be in proximity of a polyarch and fertilized by the beetles after a certain stage of maturity. The beetles are the eyes and ears, hands and feet. With only a minimal nervous system of their own, they are essentially the sensory extensions of the immobile polyarchs. So they must be the things that fly then. They are able to execute simple commands, but apparently have very little in the way of individual sentience. I don't know what that's a picture of. Which kind? Well, it's not a barnacle, that's for sure. The Arai polyarchs are the intelligence and consciousness of the species. Although it was obvious that there were intelligence behind the species, it wasn't until Caroline Farley began spending large amounts of time in close proximity that deeper communication began. With a room nearby, Farley was able to first communicate non-verbally and learn much about the species, including some historical information. The Arai species survived in their world, while several other sentient species came and went. Among them, an ancient species formed a deeper relationship with the Arai, carving temples and dwellings for them in the rocks, and later a more recent species that took over much of their homeworld. Later species was especially adept at mechanical construction, using it mostly to capture and possess large flying creatures, using the beetles as bait. Oh, maybe those are not, they're just those flying creatures. I guess that's one of the beetles. Velids. The final species to be discovered were the velid. The velid have been communicating with the Arai for many years through ambassador seeds, but became part of the larger community very shortly after the Arai. With a large and imposing frame and a form of communication based on complex multi-voice low-frequency rumble, the initial introductions were intimidating. After several attempts, Emile Vidal was able to begin some rudimentary communication and begin visiting the Velids in Marai, which she named, Marai is their world, on a regular basis. She discovered a complex and amazing species that was able to use their technology in unexpected ways. They have the ability to quickly transform their world using extruded structures based on some form of complex miniature substrate material. That's very complicated. Unlike the other worlds, the Velid sphere is scooped out of a Velid resettlement group that was preparing to set off into space and find a new homeworld. This was the way of life to put themselves into stasis and scatter themselves through the stars. Kind of like the seeds. As mentioned previously, their appearance is imposing, standing about 9 feet tall with a distinct reptilian resemblance. They have 6 limbs, 2 muscular legs and arms, a smaller set of arms. They control every aspect of their technology with their vocalizations. Voice activated. But over the years, they have created control panels based on their number system that allows other species to easily access elements of their technology. And that's what they look like. Now, I don't know if that was a control panel, the space panel, or not. But we're running short on time, so time to get the video off. Till next time, everyone. Bye! More reading coming up.